So we should be live now.
Hey, welcome everybody.
Hello everybody. Welcome to our last SNE with a little bit, not surprise, but a big present for you guys. We have GMUNK today.
Yay.
Hi. Hi.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hey everyone. It's like you're just talking to us though.
Yeah. So we're gonna play a little section of GMUNK video. It's a long one, so we're gonna play about half of that or 1/3, just so introduce a little bit his work. If I don't think it needs, but it's always go to show. So I'm just gonna share here quickly, and there we do a proper introduction and call. Let me just share here. 1 second. Should be all fine. Let me know if you guys can hear.
Yep.
So relaxing, isn't it?
It is. I feel almost ethereal.
I'm feeling relaxed. This goes on forever.
Yeah.
You should make a shorter reel.
Let's just start.
This isn't a reel though. This is what I was playing on a screen during an exhibition.
Mm.
You know, it's like 6 minutes long. One day I'll cut a reel. One day.
Where was the exhibition?
That one was for Laguna College of Art and Design in Laguna Beach.
Oh, very nice.
They have a gallery space, so I took it over for a couple weeks.
Oh,
A
that's
big
nice.
screen. Yeah.
Sounds like an excuse to go to the beach and hang out, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice down there. It's nice down there. California.
Oh, so let's start.
Yep.
Everyone knows GMUNK, so we don't need to introduce much. We're gonna ask what each one is drink, but I think it's too early for you now. But you have like a tea.
I
So what
have
do you
a
drink?
ginger turmeric tea, and I have a matcha latte with oat milk on the way. My wife is out delivering some product to a store, and on the way back, she's going to grab one.
Oh,
Wow,
very nice.
that's good. What you drink, James?
I'm festive today. I'm going mulled wine.
Ooh.
I do like the smell of mulled wine. It does smell pretty
I
rad.
really like mulled wine. Yeah. It's a lot of sugar.
It's a crap ton of sugar.
As we got GMUNK, it's the last show of the year, you know, and we're festive, so I'm gonna.
Champagne.
Oh,
Nice.
so I just gonna
Woo!
join you guys. Just be a bit fancy.
You know, I think it's a time to celebrate the end of this year
Yeah.
and the beginning of hopefully a better year next year. I think the bar is pretty low after this year, you know, but
That just means the only way is up.
the only way is up. That's
The
right.
only way is up.
Right.
It's the only place
true.
it can go.
Can't get worse.
So Brexit next year.
We got Brexit, yeah, from January.
Oh, what does that mean?
We're leaving. Well, we've technically left the European Union, and I guess they're working on their trade deals and what have you at the moment, which will come into, well, hopefully come into play 31st of December. But they haven't finished negotiating yet. So as to what actually happens is a different matter.
It's like kids fighting, you know.
This is a heavy topic that we should probably move off of.
Yeah. I was living in London when that thing got voted in.
Oh man, what a time!
I was also living in London when Trump got elected. I was like,
damn, you're like you're a bad curse.
I remember the day he got elected. It was like we went to sleep, and you know, Hillary was winning, everything was chill, you know, it was like all fine, and then we woke up and Trump won, and we were just like, fuck. And then I went into Nexus Studios, who were my reps at the time. And everybody was like, what the fuck did it just happen? And I was just like, I don't know.
It was so bizarre. Like, there's the feeling of waking up the next morning and then reading the news and having everything sink in.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. And also this year with the election as well, like just having to, it felt like the last time the election was a lot quicker. Whereas this time it was like a 3-week election until everything was official.
Dragged out. It's still going.
It's still going. Yeah. Yeah.
sort of. But I'm very hopeful. But one of my big New Year's resolutions is, now that everything is better, I'm gonna turn off the news January 1st.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, like the idea of not reading about Brexit and not reading about Trump just for like a week or so would be nice, but to have it for eternity would be amazing.
Or even COVID, you know.
Yeah. Oh, especially COVID. Just have those concerns.
COVID you need to read about, though, because that actually is important information.
No, it's important, but it'd be nicer when it's when everyone's vaccinated and it's a thing of the past, where it's relegated to the history books.
We can travel again.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
To see friends
sometime
again.
Sometime next year, we'll be able to fly again and not be wearing face shields and shit. Think about the plastic waste, man.
That's even worse. Yeah,
but it's also offset a lot of global travel and carbon emissions. So it's not all bad. Like carbon emissions this year as a globe are down like a huge percent, like 15 to 20% or something. So that's the one silver lining, is that we'll hopefully live longer as a planet.
Yeah.
And talk about the subject COVID. How did you get affected this year? Did it affect your work anyhow?
Yeah, I mean, live action productions and experiential productions are totally different. I've done a couple of remote shoots, so directed shoots through Zoom, which is
how that kind of sounds really difficult.
Yeah, totally hard. Didn't go, as well. It's like you do the best you can, really, right? The weird thing about it is that it was a shoot in Italy. So I woke up at midnight. I took a little disco nap, woke up at midnight, directed the shoot until 10 in the morning. And then at 10 in the morning, you've basically stayed up all night, drinking matcha and eating soup, you're just basically, and then you're like, holy shit, I just directed a shoot. And then you're like, it's like 10 in the morning and the sun's coming up and you're just like, what is going on? So yeah, live action's just been trashed. And for the most part, And experiential has been, mostly online events. It's just different.
So,
And motion design work is, ×4 right now.
that's true.
So it's just shifted. For the first couple months of, the lockdown and stuff, there was no work whatsoever. So I have a PC right here. And so I just dug into the PC. It's kind of my favorite thing to do is just get lost in 3D,
Did you
just
build it as
play.
well?
What's that?
Did you go to the building route as well? Did you build it yourself?
No. This was actually given to me by HP.
Oh, cool. It's quite fun.
I'm a Z ambassador, so they sent me a very nice computer. I spec'd it out with a couple of the engineering guys over there, and I've been loving. I've really loved this machine.
Awesome.
I use Maya. I learned Redshift this year. I learned Bifrost to do fluid sims. I learned Embergen, which is a simulation software. It's a GPU based like smoke simulator.
Oh wow.
An explosion maker, and it's called Embergen. And so I learned that as well, exporting VDBs to Maya. And then now I'm learning Gaia, which is a terrain generator. And so it's just been fun to just, put all those things together. And I find myself really into the digital art scene more, like creating digital art or just playing, and the thing that I find is so nice about, playing in different mediums is they all cross-pollinate, right? So everything that I shoot, I try to recreate in 3D. Everything I create in 3D, I try to shoot, and it just goes, experiential ideas come from 3D. 3D inspires the experiential. So it's very fun to, just put these worlds together, so like in live action, I'm all about, refractions and aberrations and optics. And so I bring those into 3D and I play with them in that world. And it's very similar, it's similar results in a lot of ways, which is fun to see.
Sounds like a pretty productive lockdown.
Yeah.
Pretty productive pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, you don't get downtime that much.
That's very true.
So I just said, I'm really going to take this time to do a lot of stuff that I wanted to do for so long. And, I was tired of Arnold. I was using Arnold as a rendering engine. And it was just so slow. Redshift wasn't super easy to learn, you can learn anything these days, just watch some tutorials on YouTube and Vimeo and Patreon. I've been actually finding Patreon has been a really good resource for tutorials, because there's a lot of 3D artists, a lot of really high-end visual effects artists have Patreons. And so you subscribe to these people for like $10 a month and you get all their tutorials. That's how I learned Gaia from this guy named Saul Espinoza. Has a great Patreon, super useful stuff for Houdini, Redshift, Gaia, all these tricks. And, because you never are going to know what these menu items do. Like you're never going to know that. So just to hear it from a professional, just go through everything.
That's always been the tricky part of learning 3D, I thought. Like, it's not something that's intuitive. Everything's hidden away in a menu somewhere, and you learn it through before the pandemic. People working with you. That hey, Dave, how do you do this? And they'll show you or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas I found I don't know. I've been in like a little bit of Cinema 4D, which is way more basic. But yeah, you definitely need the tutorials just to find out where stuff is. It's just it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How are you finding? So you've switched over to like GPU rendering, but have you looked at like real time stuff like Unreal Engine and Unity and that kind of side of things?
No, it doesn't interest me right now, at least. I think if I'm gonna learn another thing now, it would be Houdini. Yeah, I'm looking at it, but with Embergen and Bifrost and Maya, I'm so familiar with, like, I'm not sure, because Embergen's going to come out with a fluid simulator, which will be amazing. And they already have a smoke simulator and the VDBs and stuff. So we'll see. I do miss live action, so I really want to try to prioritize that for next year. So I'm going to shoot some music videos and get back on set. And
that's where I think that like real time can be interesting. like if you mix real time with with live action, like live on set and that kind of side of things,
the
could be pretty cool
stuff. We've been looking at that too. I've actually pitched it on some jobs. It's kind of it's definitely super cool and interesting. The two problems right now with it is it's really expensive, and there's just not enough Unreal people. Like there's a shortage where the Mill Plus represents me in London and Asia, and they have partnerships with Epic Games. And even then, pitching that kind of stuff with them, they're like, there's not enough people. They're on other jobs or this or that. There's more demand than supply right now. But your Christmas lights went down, man!
Bloody 2020. I'll fix it in post. It's fine.
But it's a fun, right. I mean, it's a locked off camera, so you could just grab it, put it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I totally see, a lot of your work is quite nice when you do the live action, because you do a lot of things in camera and it sometimes even look like 3D. And I totally see, you kind of mixing, like real time engine with live action, Where that, just unpacking a little bit your background, where came that mix you have, you're doing a lot more live action than looks more.
It was always like that from the beginning. When I was in school up in Northern California, and I was really big into using Flash as the glue that was taking together a lot of different mediums, sound, kind of interactivity, and video and graphic design, right? Those are motion design. And so I was shooting a lot of video. And so I would digitize the video, I would edit it in After Effects, and then I would bring it into Flash as like these little movie clips and start mixing it and making it, trigger events, right? So my mind was always about triggers and just about like movie clips and kind of how things trigger a transition and this and that. And then that went into, years and years of motion design, because I just got sick of optimizing. I got sick of file sizes and loaders and waiting and just like, I just got so tired of it that I just said, I just want to animate without thinking about anything. I just want to render it and it plays every frame and there's no problem, and it can be full screen or whatever, and it's great. And that was like for 10 years. And then I kind of came back into the experiential interactive stuff through those 10 years slowly. And then now I kind of do motion, I do interactive, I do live action, photography, robotics, everything really. But the fun thing is like the more people you get to know, the more collaborators you have, the more you play, And so I always make it a really important priority to just really have good collaborations with people. And that way, when there's a really healthy collaboration between friends and professionals, then you do it more often. You know what I mean? Like I'm a very nice person. I'm a very open, collaborative person. Not like a egomaniac or an asshole in any way. So I think people enjoy the collaboration. And so
we need to get confirmation on this though.
You can do a background check on that if you want. I think that's the key for me, is just opening the doors. I love collaborating with cinematographers, lighting designers, experiential artists, real-time artists. It's fun. I can't wait till, like you were saying, James, I can't wait for everything to kind of go back to
just to see people.
You see people, hug people, like you meet people now and you don't know what their face looks like.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
It's weird. It's really weird.
There's a collaboration aspect. Kind of that. Does that stem from like going into your history? Because you used to live in London a long time ago, right? You used to work at I know how to pronounce it. Is it
virtual?
Is it virtual?
Yeah.
Because that there's a lot of that was an amazing hotbed of talent at the time.
Yeah.
And he didn't pay me. I'm going to say Tom Muller, but he didn't pay me.
Yeah.
But you know, not just Tom Muller, but a lot of really good guys. You know, like James Widgeon and what have you. Oh, nice.
There it is.
Oh.
Matcha latte with oat milk.
Wow.
From Cafe Reveille down the street.
But there's a lot of great artists in their own right.
Dude, that virtual experience was probably the luckiest break of my career, because I didn't go to a great school. I certainly didn't go to an SVA, or a Parsons, or a Ringling or RISD, or some of these great art schools. I went to a public state university in like the Redwood Forests in Northern California, where I basically just majored in cannabis and psilocybin, basically. I had terrible teachers. Just the learning part of it was all self-initiated. There was no professional sphere or influence. And somehow out of that school, I was handpicked to join that team at Virtual. And I don't really understand how. I entered a contest my senior year for Web Excellence. It was a New Media Envision New Media Awards.
Yeah.
New Media Envision Awards, something like that. And I entered with just this really weird flash piece about a serial killer who kills people's dogs. It was fucking strange. And I won Best in Show. And, wow. Mostly probably just because it was so weird. There's like all this stuff, it's like these little web animations. And then my thing was just like 9 Inch Nails, Tim Burton meets like Kraftwerk. It was like the weirdest mashup of styles, because it was kind of like really grim and dark, but also very digital, but also kind of whimsical and strange. I like sampled my my aunt speaks fluent Yiddish. We're a Jewish family. And so I sampled her and had these like rotating cows that you roll over, and they each speak a different Yiddish. It's just like the weirdest thing.
It sounds very art school.
Very, very art school. Very art school. And
presented on the CRT.
Yeah, exactly. But that was probably the biggest break. And I think that once we're able to go to conferences again and congregate, I think that people coming up in the industry really need to make it a priority to network. Really meet people. I met all my heroes when I was coming out of school. I met Josh Davis. I met Matt Owens. I met the guys from the Attic. I never met the Designers Republics guys. I never met Spike Jones or Chris. I met Chris Cunningham later on in life. We sat on a couch together and watched the box film that we made, and that was very interesting to watch that.
Doesn't he live really close to David Ludowski?
Probably. Yeah.
I'm sure. Like, we went to visit him about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I'm sure he said something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's somewhere in East LA. They all all chilling in Silver Lake or wherever they are. That was actually a career highlight, and the best part of it was, we're sitting we're at Bot and Dolly at the time, and we're sitting on the couch. It's me and Chris Cunningham right next to me, and we watched Box on the big screen. The whole thing plays, and he literally had no expression change, no change in anything whatsoever. And then after it finishes, he just leaned back and said nothing. And I was British. Like, that was perfect. Thank you. Like, good on you for saying absolutely nothing, because it was rad. I could just tell that he was processing it. It just kind of like, I think he was probably getting a lot of different ideas of like how he would make that way better. But that was definitely a career highlight as well. Now, it's been 20 years. I graduated college in 2000, the year 2000. It's been 20 years, and I'm still just as passionate now as I ever was. And I think the reason for that is just I never stop learning. And that's why I love playing in 3D, because the learning curve is you can just get lost in it. And as long as the other thing that I think, and I listen to people say this a lot in the photography world, is I don't really listen to anybody. You know, I don't really listen to anybody tell, you know, influence a style or a direction or anything. I just really, I find a thread and I just go with it. And I think that that's also so important, is to really just do your thing.
Yeah, just find out what you enjoy, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a lot of issue with it's a blessing and a curse, the current climate, in terms of like, it's never been easier to learn something and you know, find inspiration and what have you. But then it also means you're also having a lot of outside influence and trying to follow a trend, and that's not necessarily a good thing either.
Yeah. I don't even know what the trends are these days. Actually, there is one trend that I've been seeing, and it's pictures.
Fidget spinners.
No, it's like picture in picture. So like, content will be in a little box, and then it will have like a background. It's like picture in picture. And I know this because I was working on a Maserati job, and Toros Kose was the lead motion designer on it, and he did it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that. And then one of my buddies, also motion designer, Peter Clark, was like, oh, that's so trendy right now. and then it was on my mind. And then I've seen it.
Did you go back and yo, what the fuck is this? I'm hip to your game, man.
Yeah, people are doing it for the reels now. You know, it's like picture in picture. But fuck it, right? I mean, fuck it. Trends.
Do what you want to do.
It's cool to see these parallels. You know, I think the motion design field has become so broad and diverse that it's just impossible now to really see any sort of every studio does its thing, and
it's kind of hard to know what exactly motion design is anymore. Like, you know, it used to be basically just animated graphic design, but it's so much more than that. It's so blurred between that and animation and filmmaking
and VFX.
And yeah, exactly. It's just everything all at once.
Yeah, I just feel like a mix up of everything now.
Like, how would you describe it to your grandma, Thiago?
She's dead.
Oh, well, with difficulty then.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, it's that thing, you know, like how to describe even to your mother or your sister, you know, like it's they never really understand much, you know. It took like years and I don't think they know what I do.
Yeah, I would describe it as the design of the moving image. And when you can differentiate design and VFX pretty easily, because VFX is more of like, it's supposed to exist in reality.
That's true, yeah.
Right? Or it has some sort of thing where it's like, okay, yeah, like this is supposed to obey something. Whereas design, it's like, you could put somebody in a circle, you could put that person in another circle, and that can, you know, melt away. You know, it's like it's much more of a.
It's like you make the world rather than.
It's a different set of rules, I think.
Yeah, it's like you make the world rather than adhering to the real world, I guess.
Yeah. Sort of.
It was that grandiose.
Yeah, but then you look at like fucking Pacific Rim or something, and you know, you got a giant robot and your giant dinosaur smashing a city in the rain, and you're just like,
okay,
crazy. But I don't, you know, it's definitely way more blurred. I remember back in the day, you know, I remember seeing Laundry, you know, one guy, PJ, who was quite good at Cinema 4D back in the day, and I was just like, oh my God, you know, this 3D animation is amazing. You know, now it's like, that's 15 years ago, 17 years ago, and now that's basically like baseline starter that literally everyone can do that.
Yeah.
Out of the box, you know, and so it's just fun to see how. Look at iPhone photography, you know. Look at the 12 Pro Max and the Pro RAW format is fucking crazy.
You don't really. It's crazy, like with iPhones, like it really has taken. You know, you don't really need to carry around like an SLR anymore, unless you want to do something a bit more specialist. Like, you know, you want the fast glass and nice depth of field and what have you. The majority of the time, you can get amazing results with just camera phones.
Yeah. But I would, as a photographer, I would say that you want to carry around a real camera.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
You know, I think, you know, having a 70 to 200, you know, zoom lens on a 61 megapixel camera is great. you know, getting the shots. Yeah, I've also taken the time during quarantine to really expand on the photography too. I've been staying busy, man, and I'm actually I'm turning my garage into a photo studio in the spring.
Oh wow! Are you going to develop stuff like yourself, like chemically?
Like paper?
Yeah. I wanna get really into tabletop
Are you still
videography.
doing like infrared photography and all that kind of side of things?
Yeah. I've taken that into the moving image as well. Yeah, I spent a lot of time during fog season this year, doing a lot of research for infrared and ND filters and long exposure and time lapse, and just like figuring all that shit out, which sucked because, you have a couple apps to track the fog, right? You have a couple apps, and it's like, okay, fog's coming in. You show up at, you drive an hour to get to the mountain. You go up Mount Tamalpais. You show up there, and the fog burns off. Woke up at 7 and 6 in the morning. It's like a whole thing. And so I must have went probably like, I don't know, 7, 8 times, and really had perfect conditions 2 times. And one of those 2 times, the park was closed because of the fires.
Oh.
And it didn't say it on the website. So I get up there, the fog is perfect, it's there, everything's perfect, and it's closed. Oh my God, dude.
But when you get the shot though, like it kind of makes it all worthwhile. It's like, this looks great.
Yeah.
Okay. It was worth the 5 hours in driving in total kind of thing.
Yeah. And that day that the park was closed, I drove down the mountain and I did see some fog coming over this hill, and I basically hiked up into someone's backyard and set up on their deck. And it was just like, I'm fucking getting this shot. They could call the police on me. I don't care. I'm getting this shot. And I set up on this person's deck and I got the shot, and it was fucking dope. And they never showed up. They never, I made it. I snuck, and I actually took a video of it too, because it was pretty funny that I was chilling on this dude's backyard getting the shot. But it's I'm very, very excited for next year's fog season. I'm armed and dangerous now. And through the process of the couple of months, I figured out what apps to use, how to read the satellite data, and how to really figure this out. So that wasn't until like the end of fog season that I really dialed everything in.
You must be the only person who's looking forward to fog season.
No, fog is the best. I mean, us people in San Francisco, it's so pretty. It's so pretty for photography, for mood, just for vibe.
It's nice when you get like shafts of light coming through it. Like on when I take my daughter to work in the kind of the tail end of summertime, when it's getting a little bit colder, in the mornings you get a fog, and you get like the amazing like sunrise with just shafts of light coming through the trees, like hitting the fog as like low level on the like on the road or whatever. You can't stop because I'm in a car, but it does look nice.
Ah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Have you been playing with drones as well?
Yeah. I have a drone. I have a Mavic 2 Pro, DJI, and I went on a trip to Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico in 2019, and shot a lot of drone photography then. The problem with drone photography is you're not allowed to fly it that many places, especially not in national parks. No. So I was in Yosemite 2 weekends ago, and you can't fly the drone up there. So it's kind of like, I love it. I love that vantage point. I'm much more actually interested in drone photography than videography, but I think that I'm trying to figure out if I want to buy a full spectrum drone and do drone infrared. There's an Italian photographer.
About to ask that.
Yeah, right. And you can, my camera is full spectrum, so it sees infrared and visible and ultraviolet, and I can put filters on it to let it only see certain wavelengths of light.
Is that a Fuji? Are you still shooting Fuji or?
No, I switched to Sony.
Sony. Is that full spectrum by default, or did it need to be modified?
It was modified. Yeah, it was modified. You can buy them pre-modified now from LifePixel or Kolari Vision. I still have the Fuji, and that's kind of a fun camera, but I just needed, I started shooting medium format Fuji, and then I was like, okay, yeah, actually sensor size totally matters. you know. But then that camera, you know, just huge lenses, heavy everything, expensive as all hell. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna settle on full frame, buy the A7R IV, and just like that's gonna be my camera because I can, you know, it's like the perfect balance of, you know, medium format's king.
Yeah.
And Fuji is gonna come out with another medium format camera next year that's smaller. So I will look at that.
What's the resolution of a medium? Is it 60? Is it 60 megapixels or 100 and something?
100.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, 100 megapixel medium format, which is nuts.
Wow.
You know, the full frame to medium format is a big jump. You know, it's a bigger jump than APS-C to full frame. Wow. You know, it's kind of a big deal. So I'll look at that. You know, that one. You know, I'm gonna look at that one pretty good. You know, when I get this thing set up, I'll take a good look at that because it's great for tabletop to have the 100. You know, it's 11.5K.
Wow.
Yeah, of like crazy detail. I had a 50 megapixel medium format camera, and that blew my mind. You know,
I guess if you're setting up a lab as well, you can do medium format a bit cheaper as well if you're shooting on what they're called. Not Minnesota. That's a state. Well, I can't remember what the medium. You get like a cheap medium format cameras that are Japanese, and they're maybe like $1,000 or so. I can't remember what they're called.
Minota.
Is it Minota?
Or Mamiya.
Mamiya, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're a little bit prone to breaking though. Pardon?
I think they're film cameras.
Yeah, film cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing actually that taught me a lot about image making is shooting on film. I spent about 1.5 years, I still shoot on film. I spent about 1.5 years shooting only film, all sorts of 35 millimeter film, not medium format, but 35 millimeter. And I dude, I must have taken like maybe 5,000 shots on film, which is a lot of rolls of film. Very expensive. But it just taught me like what it means for an image to have a soul.
Yeah.
You know, what does it mean for something to exist in reality as a negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that actually has inspired me to look into processes where digital video is also printed to film. And you can do that after the fact. So instead of film, you know, shooting on film, you can actually take a digital image and then print it to film and then rescan it. And so that is a technique that I'm very into as well.
So do you think if you're rescanning a digital output, making it physical, I guess, so you think it adds just like like an unknown element to kind of gel it and to give it, like you say, like a bit more soul, a bit more something?
Yeah, I do. And there's different film stocks and different film speeds. So the faster the film, the higher the ASA, the more grain and the softer the image becomes.
ASA, that's the same as ISO, isn't it? Right?
That's the same as ISO. Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, movie film equivalent as an ISO. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, and so it has a very different effect. Yeah. Where, you know, I'm doing a film out for a big project, and you know, the difference between 50D, 200T, and 500T is night and day. You know, like it's a whole different. 50D base barely looks like you printed a film at all. It's like the same. Yeah. And then 500T is like, it looks like something shot in the 80s. You know, which I think all of us are so used to looking at things in 5K, perfectly sharp and crisp. When you see something that's a little bit weathered, it actually kind of makes you feel warm again in a way. You know,
and like that craft feeling to that as well. No?
Yeah. And I think there's something really nice about that.
I think there's definitely something to be said for having. It's almost like when you do some work and you get it printed, you know, and it's like have something physical that you've made, like something tangible. It's just really, really nice. But with printing to digital to film, you know, if you've got like a fast film, you can't. I guess you wouldn't have. It would affect. You can't really do motion blur, right? Because that would be within your digital files, not within the physical files.
Yeah. There's really nothing, you know, you can choose any film stock you want. You choose the film stock for the character at that point.
Yeah.
You know, once the digital image is, you shoot it super clean, it's good to go. And then you print it to the film stock basically with whatever you want to give it, how much character do you want it to have? And just doing all that really mucked up my, I was very much into resolution and sharpness, cleanliness, and spending that time shooting on film really dirtied everything up, where now I want texture, I want personality, character, and a good photograph or a good shot is more about the moment than it is about anything else.
It'd be cool to see
I
how
think that's a really good lesson to learn.
It'd be cool to see how different real world elements like affect the film as well before you expose it to the digital film. Like maybe you leave one in a high temperature area, one in a low temperature area, maybe one's a bit more overexposed or whatever, just to see how it alters the character. And then you can maybe you like mash them all together with alternate frames from each different version, just to have like a really crazy, it could be, I don't know, it could be quite fun. It's all experimentation, isn't it?
Yeah. It's cool.
Stick some in the microwave, see what happens.
Yeah. I remember one of my I was out at Venice Beach shooting film on a telephoto lens, and when I was done with the roll, it didn't rewind properly. So when I opened the back of the camera, it exposed the sunlight on a bunch, like 5 or 6 exposures in the 36 exposure roll. And man, some of the light leaks were so perfect. They were so beautiful. And it was all like, it's all real, it's like real light. And so like, that goes back to optical printing. Back in the day, you look at a movie like Close Encounters, for instance. Close Encounters is a double exposure where they shoot the flying saucers, and then they optical print that into the shot where, there's humans in the plate. And it's basically just like After Effects before After Effects existed.
I love stuff like that.
But like, oh man, so that movie just, first of all, I'm obsessed with extraterrestrial life and UFOs and like that whole idea. I love. And then take into account like that they did everything practically. The UFOs, how they did those are so beautiful with all the lights and the spires and it's fucking. I love that film. I just fucking love that film. I actually, when I was living in London, I did 2 stints in London. The second stint in London was from 2016 to 2017 when I gave a talk at the pub.
Yeah.
We were all at. But I went and saw Close Encounters at the BFI South Bank with my wife, who had never seen it, and to see that on the big screen was one of the highlights of the year. I just love that shit.
It's just nice seeing like all these old films that you never had a chance to see originally in the cinema. To see them original prints at like the BFI and what have you is amazing. It's just so good. It's just a great experience. That's what's great about the BFI. All the old films they show on so good.
So good. Yeah.
So talking about your work is so, you got so much passion in the technique you do, but it's quite fun in the same way how you mix that, how you keep your mind, just running, like, because when we think, it's like what you said, you don't really follow a trend. And I think that is something we always see on your work.
There was no trend for a dancing lycra guy.
So how do you keep, do you think what push yourself is like be able to always be experimenting new stuff, new technique, and getting people involved, and that's what pushes you? And do you think that's the thing make you excited about?
I think that there's different industries, and there's different like, okay, to get on set with a team is, on a production is, a lot of money, right? And so when that opportunity comes, I think in a different way, because I think about, what I'm finding more as I get older is I'm obsessed more with nature and the elements as I get older. But then I also am embracing more of like the psychedelic themes. And I'm just like, and how all of those kind of coexist is really inspiring to me. Before I was very much in sci-fi and holograms, and but as I get older, I'm going more into just natural light, natural tungsten light, water, rain machines, fog, fire, just anything, and just kind of like how that exists in like these psychedelic tropes. But it's just, I'm all over the place, like I'm all over the place. This week I'm pitching on a AI driven like data moshing motion design project, and then I'm pitching on a car commercial with rain machines, Tesla coils, and cloud machines. It's like they're completely different ends of the spectrum. In a studio, in a wet studio, and it's just like, it's like, and that's just the way it is. Right now I'm doing a data visualization project, doing a short film, a music video. It's like it's just all over the place, and there's no real thread between all of these projects, except for the only one that I really can grasp onto is my love for psychedelic tropes. Is the only thing, and that comes in the form of music or aesthetics, just like mood is like the only thing that really grounds my work right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's always something that brings, like, looking at your body of work, there's always something that brings it together, even if the design aspects or the creative aspects are quite different. There's always a common thread, which must be the psychedelic tropes, as you.
Yeah, and I want to, as I get older, I want to go heavier into that, both in the usage of psychedelics, but also in the kind of expression of it, because I found that of everything that I've done, that's the one thing that feels the most me.
Right.
That's the one thing that makes me makes my heart sing. And back in the day, it wasn't. Back in the day, I would look at the work of Designers Republic and the Attic, and I'd be like, oh, I love the detail. I love that detail. But as I get older, I realize that detail has to mean something to me, and in motion design, I'm very much into the detail and just the layering, and that like techie world still speaks to me. But what I'm most inspired to take that is into this kind of a little bit more subliminal world, and I thought, like, some inspiring examples are, I love the work that Ash did on The Great Hack, like that, the kind of data world, and that kind of these kind of fly-throughs of that world was really beautiful. And I think when I look at that, I think about, like, what does that sound like to be in there, as like a VR experience, and having these voices whiz by your head and whisper to you, and you're like in their thoughts in a way, is something that, like, I'm really into that kind of thinking, and so I pitch all sorts of shit all the time that doesn't get picked, like this year has been especially bad for pitches.
Last year, best work is failed pitches.
Yeah, like, fuck, pitches. We could do a whole session on that. But I pitch a lot of the same kind of constructs and tropes and themes, and it's just about persistency. Being persistent.
Someone take it, please.
Someone take it, please. Yeah, someone take it. Let me get weird with it.
Because looking, like when we talk like commercial work, like when you're pitching, because when you're pushing really to the crazy side, how clients get into that, because normally clients come to studio or to directors, focus, like when we're talking commercial work, focus, like they normally see something they like and they come. But because you're always pitching complete, like different ideas as well, different approach for that. How do you, what is your feeling about, like you said you lost a lot of pitches as well, but does clients come to you with something in mind, or are you always trying to throw, you know, complete different direction to there?
I think it just depends. Client work is something where you have to kind of take their brief and add a few things to it, you know, and solve some problems, and just try to like sculpt it in such a way that you're not veering too far off track, but it's enough to kind of add a new voice into it. But it's hard, man. You're pitching against, you know, other really talented people, and you know, there's always a triple bid, and it's fucking hard. It's really, really hard. And they take up so much time. And so, you know, this is kind of a nice segue into next year is, you know, I think I would like to at some point pick and choose. You know, right now I pick and choose. You know, I probably take on, I don't know, like 60% of things that get dropped my way. You know, but I would like to take on like 20% and only choose like the really dope shit, and then just go hard on those instead of like choosing 60% and like, you know, balancing it. I think that would be really nice. And I think the way to do that is to, you know, which is I think we should talk about, is what's going on in the crypto art scene.
Yeah,
you know, I think that I've been selling prints and doing exhibitions for years, but it's not a primary source of income. It's more of a pleasure, you know, to share your work and sell framed prints and have people hang your work on their walls and send you pictures of them, and it's great. It's like it makes you feel good, right? You're sharing a piece of you. But man, there's been some serious shit going down in the crypto art scene the last month, and it's impossible to ignore that. And I think it's really interesting to see. My first drop on Nifty Gateway is going to be January 8th, which is a Friday.
Can you explain crypto art quickly for people who don't?
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm still struggling with understanding it, in all honesty.
Yeah, so basically it's like you're tokenizing a piece as a unique, signed by the artist via a digital verification process, as like, this is a tokenized, artist verified digital piece of work, and people buy that token based on the artist's reputation. Like if you buy a tokenized Mona Lisa, that is literally the only tokenized Mona Lisa in the world. It's as good as the original, right? I mean, let's just say it's the original Mona Lisa. And so that's where the value comes in, the scarcity of it, right? And then the secondary market where that token is traded, it's another form of investment for these collectors, because the markup on that trading value is way higher than stock investments, or, you know, it's another form of investment. There's a lot of people out there in the world that have a lot of money and are looking for ways to invest their money. And
so what gives it value?
A nice way to combine the love of art and really, really high returns on investment for, you know.
So what gives it value? I mean, obviously, after you've bought something, it's supply and demand that gives it value. But when somebody puts art up there, you know, like I think earlier we were talking about Beeple and what have you. You know, what gives it value? I'd say a piece of his art is like, say, arbitrary number, like $3,000. What gives it that value of that amount initially?
The token. The token and his reputation.
So it's based on rep, kind of like
is it similar with graffiti artists, you know? And but I don't know, for me it's really hard. Do you think that it's gonna really pick up, you know, because we're talking about, there is a lot of people with money to invest, but that investment is the same, you know, like if we're talking about Banksy and, you know, like all graffiti arts, if people stop investing on that artwork doesn't worth their money,
right?
And the digital art, it just feels not as a physical. We've been talking about filming and things like that, just doesn't feel as you know, like you have a painting or wall, you know, you have like a digital thing, then I don't know, in my mind it's still hard to understand that, you know,
it's
understand
like it's not about the art, it's about the token.
Okay,
it's
so
just another way. It's like people collecting baseball cards, or people
Right.
collecting magic cards, or or investing in cryptocurrency. Now they're investing in tokenized artwork.
Okay.
And as another form of the, and honestly, right now we're looking at it, it's doing this. We're like on the front end of this thing just skyrocketing. Who knows what next year holds for it? My take on it is, let's, I think what Beeple did last weekend was brilliant, because he answered your question, Thiago, about putting a physical commodity to the artwork, right? He made these really cool products, basically, with the token embedded in them. So now, not only do you get a tokenized piece, but you also have a cool product to hang on your shelves as a collector item. And it's kind of an imprint in history in a lot of ways, right? But I just see, knowing the motion design scene and knowing, it's just will be interesting to see how many people flood the scene now. The supply is going to skyrocket, and what that means for demand, right? But fuck me, like, there's real money in it. As we saw, there's definitely real money in it, and people are doing nifty gateway drops, and they're selling out in 5 minutes every time.
So is nifty gateway basically an equivalent of like a Bitcoin exchange? Is it a bit like Coinbase or Gox?
No, it's an art site. It's a site where you buy the tokens, where you see the artwork and buy the tokens. It hosts the artist and does these drops. There's also other ones: Super Rare, Maker's Place, Rareable. There's a couple more. Foundation. There's a lot that are going on, and they all have kind of different ways of existing. Super Rare is all like single edition, where it's just kind of a free for all, and Nifty Gateway is more of an event based, kind of drop based, multiple edition one. And it's super interesting. I've been doing a lot of conversations with people, with Pac, with my friend Adam Swab, just like learning about it. And I'm not that guy that's gonna unload on Twitter for like people to buy my artwork, and send 20 tweets, and just be annoying as fuck. I can't do that.
It's like eBay.
I don't want to be that guy. And so I'm finding a way of like, how can I exist in this space without being completely annoying? And that's the key, because I don't want to be annoying, and I don't want to, it's just another outlet.
That's the key to life in general, isn't it? How to exist but not be annoying.
Yeah, right. Amen. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. It's just interesting. It's an interesting time, because I make stuff all the time. Like, I'm constantly making shit. It's just how I stay happy, and so it's nice to see that there is a value in that. Rather than just posting it on Instagram or posting it on Twitter and just being like, okay, there you go, I made something last night, blah, it's gone. Now there's a way to like, okay, wait, actually, if I plan this, I could have this drop with this series. It just gives value to expressions that we already are doing anyway.
What happens to like the IP rights, for example? If you put an image out and you tokenize it and sell various tokens,
you own the token, and then whoever purchases the token purchases the rights to the token, but you still own the IP on the token.
So could you still do like a print run of the same image, for example?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. It's the token that people want.
Yeah. Okay. I need to do more research.
You got to think of it like as there's people out there who go to trade shows and trade magic cards, right?
Yeah.
The game Magic, right? They trade magic cards for thousands of dollars because it's this one card existing in this one point in time by this one thing. I don't know shit about Magic. I'm just trying to make an example here. And people trade that stuff for lots of money. It's the same thing. It's like a token created by an artist for a piece, It's an edition of one. It's tokenized, digitally verified. You know, there's tons of printing technology now, and photographing and printing technology, where you could literally photograph the Mona Lisa with a 100 megapixel medium format camera, do a perfect print of it, and people could sell it for thousands of dollars, but it's a fake. You know, it's not the original.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it's really
just
interesting
another thing
time
to pay attention to.
It makes you
it's just like thinking.
Sorry, after you.
Thinking quickly in regards to the artist. You know, when we talk like about street arts or painters, you know, like Picasso, it's people that made the name. They well know. Like our industry is still like a bubble. You know, I think what people manage to do really well is like he has 1.7 million followers on Instagram, and also he being like collection of I think Louis Vuitton had like his artwork on one catwalk once. So I think he managed to get out of our bubble, and people from outside saw him as an artist. Yeah. And I think for, you know, like us or like people inside our industry still quite, you know, it's like just like a bunch of nerds, you know, like using the computer, and we're not seeing as much, you know, like as an artist then goes outside when, you know, there is
in a bubble
money, but yeah, there is people with money, but that person invests like in art. So until, I think maybe, you know, if we start having galleries, then promote more artists, and like you said, been doing exhibitions, and I think we manage to expand to the outside world as well. You know, I think that's why you need to get that money as well.
It's interesting what you say, like, you know, obviously he's seen as a legitimate artist, and obviously he is, and hopefully, or you guys are as well. But like in the art world, you know, what makes a successful artist is usually who you know or who you went to school with. Like, you know, if you look at like Damien Hirst, Tracy Emin, you know, they're like the Rat Pack. They're only where they are because they knew each other and had connections through wealth or whatever before becoming artists.
Or dying a crazy way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. It's very interesting. You know, you can't ignore it.
Yeah, you can't ignore it. I think it is, I don't know, I think he managed to do like a big thing, you know. I think it's just a step there.
I mean, look at the numbers.
Yeah, look at the numbers.
Interesting. Is it just kind of like art, or can you use you know, can you do the same with music and other mediums too?
Don't know.
Because I'm sure like art, sorry, not art.
Right now it seems like it's digital art.
Because surely digital music can be very similar.
Yeah. But yeah. I think it's just an interesting. I think the digital verification process of the NFTs are here to stay for sure. Yeah. The whole like crypto art, like what is that? How that goes forward, I think is you know, we'll have to see. You know, I don't have to. I'm by no means the master in this either. You know, like I'm just aware of it, and I've been learning about it. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm not like the crypto guy. You know, I'm. Well, I actually enjoy doing client work, because it's not to say that I'm done doing client work, you know, or anything, because I actually enjoy client work, and the reason I enjoy client work is it allows for collaboration. It allows me to get better as a creative, because I'm solving problems, right? Yeah. If you're just doing your own thing all the time, what problems are you solving?
You are the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually enjoy client work because it teaches you to solve problems. And the other thing is when you're made uncomfortable and there's a bazillion variables thrown at you, you fail at certain parts, you know, and through that failure, you learn. So all of those things are why I love client work so much. I'm just saying I want to do a little bit less, you know, like I want to pick and choose. I want to be able to pick and choose. I don't think that'll ever happen, but that's my goal, is to like pick and choose the special ones where I could get that exposure, get those collaborations, get the problem solving, the failures, you know, because whenever I do something for a second time, I'm so much better at it in terms of like, you know, not necessarily a design aesthetic or something, but like going out there and being vulnerable. right? And failing, getting beat up a little bit. When you revisit that a second time, you take your learnings, and that's the ultimate test.
So I think if you're picking like 20% of the projects that come through, it means you can concentrate your creative energy a lot more. Like one of the things I find with pitches, you know, you do so many of them, and it's like your creative juice is just gone after a point. It's like, I don't want to do another pitch and not win it. I can't, you know.
Yeah.
You have to like recharge your batteries. Whereas if you're just picking, burnout's real, man.
Yeah. Pitch is always the beach, you know. It's going back to, it's why you said, you know, 3 beats as well, you know, like it's always sometimes has some rig there. It's quite hard to put your time and your soul, and you know, when things, I think that's why it's quite nice to see you do a lot different type of work as well. You're talking like music videos and things like that. I think you know, it gives you a little bit more freedom on the creative as well now.
Yeah. So what does the future entail for you? Like, what would you like to see yourself doing? Like, what's your like dream project in like say in a couple of years' time when we can still travel again? We can travel again. Like, what would be your dream project and dream client?
I wanna do more narrative short films.
Okay.
That's where I need to get. That's where I wanna tell stories. The older I get, the more I want to do narrative, tell stories. Not on the feature level at all. You know, I'm not interested in that yet. Yeah. I have 10, 15 years of it. And maybe I could be ready to do some sort of long form, but for right now, I'm short films. Narrative is what really gets me excited, because it's where I'm the weakest. You know, where I feel I'm the weakest is that. And so, and it's just, I just love that. So that would be a dream project, is to do that kind of stuff. And also live shows. Live shows meaning it's a ticketed experience of some sort, and people come and they watch a show. And we've dabbled in that. I have amazing collaborators in Michael Fullman from VT Pro. And we play a lot with robots. And so I want to, with Michael, you know, I want to do some experience stuff where it's from start to finish. Telling a narrative through experience is also really inspiring to me. I think those two in the film world and in the experiential world, those two are kind of on my hot button. And then in the meantime, I'm just going to play on my computer and make mountains.
Why not? There was what was it?
But I will say, I'm gonna plug this fucking software. This Quad Spinner Gaia is. I've played with a lot of software. This is the most fun that I've had. I haven't started playing with Houdini yet, so that gets a pass. But this is the most fun that I've had playing with a software. Mostly because I'm a landscape photographer, you know,
of course,
and have shot a lot of mountains and a lot of hills and a lot of that shit. And so just to be able to see it manifest before your eyes and be able to control it is fun. It's just fun. And then you're kind of like designing your shots. I've just learned today how to get it into Maya through height maps. And so now there's like a whole world of height maps that exist where you're just like, it's fucking cool. I don't know. And I'm playing with Booleans now. I want to, my dream is to make I want to make a sphere with like a valley cut through it of a mountain range. And so now you have to like generate these 4 million poly meshes, and then you fucking Boolean out of a sphere. And it takes like 20 minutes, and you like let your computer go, make yourself a tea and come back. And it, you know, it's
so even with GPUs and what have you, you're still pushing it to like 20 minutes a frame.
Oh yeah. It's been, I'm doing a project with HP, and I've been learning, you know, I've been basically thrust into hands-on motion design, and it's for the first time in a while where I'm using all the shit, and it's been really fun to just get back into it. And
when
there's different seasons, you know, there's just different seasons.
When you're in London, did you ever go to any of the kind of like interactive theatre stuff? Like what was it? You had like Secret Cinema, obviously Cinema Hall Experience.
Yeah, we went to a couple of Secret Cinemas. It was fucking fantastic.
But
it was probably one of the coolest things. We did Doctor Strangelove, the Kubrick one, and it was just so good. It was so good. I don't think I was quite prepared for what it was. Like it was so overwhelming in a lot of ways.
The amount of detail they go to is just crazy. Yeah,
it was so cool, so good, so good. And I've been to Queen of the Night in New York. I haven't seen Sleep No More yet. That's a big one in New York. But that's where I would like to go, is kind of into like the theater Sleep No More route as well. And I think you just it's good to have goals that you'll never achieve. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's
okay. Kind of humbling and keeps you striving.
Yeah, exactly. Like I look up to fucking Spike Jonze, and I'll never be anything near as talented or as profoundly great as Spike Jonze. But
he said the same thing about you as well.
Yeah, right. But I just love to kind of study him, and I love to study Alex Garland is a fucking amazing new on the scene director, did Ex Machina, Annihilation, new show called Devs on Hulu.
He's got a really good aesthetic quality to his work as well. It's amazing.
Oh, so good. So good. Like, and I've there's just there's so much talent out there that is just so fun to study, and I love looking at cinematography. Like, my wife likes to watch these shows like The Crown. I watched the fucking chess one.
Aren't you quite an Anglophile as well?
Yeah.
Oh, Queen's Gambit is so good.
Yeah, so good. And I just like to I love to just watch the the character development, but also the cinematography. And there is a trend that I'm noticing right now in cinematography is diffusion filters. There's a lot of diffusion filters happening. Alex Garland kind of started it. Well, it started the fucking diffusion filters forever, but you know what I mean? I'm saying that, like, there's a lot of glowy, soft, gradient footage out there. So I bought a bunch of diffusion filters and have been taking my camera out and just playing, with pearlescence and black mists and just kind of plotting my next move. Like, in the garage back there, you better believe there's going to be a lot of fucking diffusion filters.
It's interesting how trends come back around, because if you go back to say early 2000s, if you shot anything with diffusion filter, it just looked a little bit cheesy and like a bit soap opera. But now with the right kind of art direction, it looks great.
Looks great. Yeah, like that single light source coming in from the window with just like fucking hella diffusion everywhere. It's just backlit subjects with just like a little bit of sliver of light. That's beautiful, man. I think one of the keys for a big there's chapters along the way, right? There's like awakenings, is what I like to call them, and that's usually when I dive into a new medium entirely. So when I said, I was shooting photography with my iPhone and I was all into details and textures and patterns, and I said, you know what? Get yourself a real camera, buy yourself a wide angle lens, and a telephoto lens, and just go to Iceland. And like that was the start, and that was about 6 years ago.
To be fair,
that was the start.
It's really hard to take a crap photo in Iceland.
But
it's
the best. It's the best. It's literally the best. But like that was the start of thinking photographically, right? And then another awakening was just diving into CG again. Just diving into CG and kind of working in this like pretend world, and how does that influence like previs that I do for real shoots, and how does that go? I just think that it's nice to just dive into something. I really want to get into 3D printing, where I take some of these meshes, either fluid meshes, terrain meshes, and just make sculptures.
Man, it'd be interesting to mix up like photography with that, like legit, with physical objects and playing with scale. That could be super interesting.
So yeah, that's another one. I don't know. We'll just day by day. Today I'm gonna spend my time, bullying a mountain and a sphere, and that's my goal.
Good goal to have.
Get one that looks cool. Yeah, that's my goal. That's what I'll spend hours today doing.
If you could give advice, to yourself 10 years ago, what would you say to yourself, knowing what you know nowadays?
I think, the one that we've all heard so many times is don't be afraid to fail. You learn more from failure. Stay healthy, but prioritize health. But what I would tell myself, outside of those, and really, really prioritize friendships and family,
especially right now as well.
Well, it's so easy to just turn off and to turn off in the sense where you get so focused on something that you just forget about the world around you. You forget about the outside world, and your friends all become these digital avatars. They're not real people, right? Or they're real people, but you don't really know them. You know them on a game, you playing fucking Call of Duty, or your World of Warcraft friends. It's like I think prioritizing friends and family as real people and real experiences. Most of my really, really good friends aren't in creative professionals. They own construction companies and restaurants and are copywriters for, there's just like, no one gives a fuck about anything I do. And that's how I like it, where we don't talk about anything that I do professionally. Like, no one cares. And I like that, I like that. If all my friends were just coworkers and shit, it's like, I can't escape the bubble. It's like, I'm stuck in the bubble. So I would say that, prioritize friendships and family. And then my last advice to myself 10 years ago would be to really, really explore what like the inner, like really explore like the innermost reaches of your soul and your subconscious, and just kind of like, who are you? And how do you tap into that through meditation, through psychedelic use, through dreams. Like, really study that, because I think that there's something really interesting, especially being a creative, about finding, like, dude, when I did DMT for the first time, it was probably like 2007. I saw shit, and I immediately thought to myself, there's no way I could make that. There's no way I can make that. It was all these like tube creatures and eyes and 50 faces, and they're all like perfectly transitioning into each other, and it's like perfect motion design. It's like fucking amazing. It's like, it's so detailed. It's like I could never make that, right? I could never make that. But then I started saying, okay, and then in 2008, I really dug in to that world. Like, we really dug in, did it probably over 50 times with one of my best friends, K-Dog. We really went in, and in that time period, I said, okay, why am I seeing this? And how can I how does this relate to me as a creative being? And like, what does it mean? And I think that there's some, and then I was like, okay, yeah, this is all just like, it's all just like visual. It's not, there's no real like soulful meaning in it. It's just like this visual aesthetic that I just am profoundly humbled by, in a way, because it's just so fucking beyond anything that I can really understand. But then I said, okay, what is the meaning behind? That's when I started getting into the more ceremonial sittings of this thing. And I said, okay, like, where are the demons? What do they mean? How do I create work that like triggers something? Well, that triggers like a focus, in a way, like it triggers like a shift. It makes a feeling, and that feeling changes throughout the years. As I get older, that feeling changes. So I'm actually really, and I took a little break, and now I'm kind of getting back into it, and I have a new set of priorities now. that I want to explore. And it's just like, it's not just like doing it to see cool shit anymore. It's doing it to find myself.
I guess I guess as a conscious being, you kind of put up barriers to try and shield yourself from yourself in a way. And does this kind of knock down the barriers so you can, like, you investigate yourself more?
That's exactly it.
Interesting.
That's exactly it. And if you look it up online, like a lot of psychedelic research is it's actually kind of a renaissance for psychedelic usage as treatments for
so
depression,
is that all like microdosing
PTSD.
stuff, right?
Microdosing's fuck microdosing. Microdosing, I'm not, that's like woke shit in San Francisco, tech bros microdosing every day, whatever. That means nothing to me. Right. That's just like a bubble. That's like drinking caffeine, like it's whatever. It does nothing. I'm talking about like macro dosing, like fucking, like taking it hard, like fucking dealing with it. And I think that it's early. Like there's chapters for that too. Like where is the resonance? Right? Where is the resonance? And there was a chapter, a decade ago where I found some serious resonance, and that informed like a whole years and years of thinking. And then there's kind of another kind of renaissance of that for me now. And it's like a lot of it has to do with sound, and vibe and mood. But it's also just teaching me what's important, how to give back, how to lend support, and then we talk about this pandemic, and you're like, holy shit, like there's so many people that are so fucked, and like, how can you help? It's just it's a time of empathy. This is a time of empathy. And I think that, giving, helping, giving your time, giving your time and attention and resources to those in need is tough. And then it's a tough one.
Time's your most expensive asset, really.
Yeah.
Like, to give someone your time is quite a big thing and very generous thing to do, I reckon. Like be it, whoever, in terms of learning or as a friend or just to help out.
Yeah. I don't have a family yet. That's in the cards. And I'm going to be a very old father. But I do feel like the meaning of life is raising your own.
That's another thing that'll change. That will change your perspective massively as well. I think on your outlook on life in a good way, definitely in a very positive way. Yeah,
kids are the best. I have nieces; they're so much fun. We have them stay over all the time, and it's just like, I love what I love about shoots being on set is the adrenaline.
Right.
And I just feel like kids are also adrenaline.
Yeah, especially when they're on the edge of a cliff.
yeah, but you know what I mean, though? It's like they show up, and then it's like, okay, it's go time. I need to match your energy. And that's pretty inspiring, actually.
It's kind of nice when you got this little thing that it unconditionally loves you in the most purest form. Like, your wife or your husband or your girlfriend or your boyfriend loves you, but it's not as pure as this love. And that's it's a very nice thing. It's very heartwarming.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
It's like mulled wine.
Yeah, I think so. To answer your question, Tiago, I think I would say my advice to myself 10 years ago is pay attention to when you are in altered states. Pay attention. Take better notes. Pay attention, because there's learnings in there that you can't get anywhere else, And so, I don't want to I don't want my identity to be associated with any sort of altered state or anything like that. It's not about that to me. It's about just it's just about discovery. Yeah. It's just about discovery in so many different ways,
Speaking of discovery, shall we ask some questions from
should we channel? Pick we just almost hitting 1 minute and 25, so maybe just pick 2 questions from the crowd.
There was one asking about do you plan to explore like VR and stuff? But I feel like we've already touched on that earlier anyway.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I love VR because I think it's like it's such an immersion, and I love kind of losing yourself in it. And so I think that I think it's one of the most inspiring mediums, because it requires your complete focus and the world around you is gone. You could be watching something on motionographer on your phone, and you're at a bus stop, and the sun's shining on your phone, and there's a car screeching over here, and you're trying to watch a 30-second thing. It's like, this is the terrible thing. But when you're in a VR headset, you're in. And the whole binaural audio and the way that works too is super cool. So I'm very inspired by it.
It's crazy how close we've got to like Star Trek and holodecks. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, that's like, wow, that'll never happen. That's so futuristic. But when you look at like the Oculus Quest and what have you, where it has like the inside out tracking, you're pretty much there.
Pretty much there. It's super interesting and cool. And I'm just waiting. A lot of this stuff is this is what's so hard about this gig, is you don't get opportunities unless you have it on your reel, right? And so you need to do that. You need to do that as spec to prove that you can do it. And so and that requires money, resources, and so it's just that it's hard to, like, no one's going to hire me to do narrative or a dialogue because I have very little of it on my reel. No one's going to hire me to do a VR project because I don't have, very little of it on my reel. So I've done spec pieces, but then you have to take that spec piece, you have to pound the pavement, sell the shit out of it, go to meeting after meeting after meeting, and talk about the same pitch over and over and over again. And then I hate that shit. It's like
very chicken and egg, isn't it?
Yeah. And so it's just, it's tough. It's tough. But I've made a couple VR experiences that, were much bigger projects, and did that exact gig, pounded the payment, looking for funding, and just didn't find the right partner, but ideas never die. That idea could come back 5 years from now when we find the right partner, and we could be good to go.
I quite like the idea of, because you've got inside out tracking and wireless VR headsets now, I like the idea of combining it with immersive theater. Like, maybe you've got like actors around and what have you, and they're tracked via a camera in the sky or whatever. But I think that could be super interesting and super fun. Not sure where you'd take it. Well, I mean, you can take it anywhere you want, actually, can't you? But that could be an interesting realm to go into, especially with like psychedelic aspects, for sure. Like you can really play around.
Yeah.
Virtual exhibitions as well. Andy he asked, what's the biggest regret in your career?
Other than our live stream.
There was a point when I kind of lost. There was a point in kind of when I was in my mid to late 20s, early 30s, that I just kind of lost touch with what GMUNK meant. Meaning I was just going to, working, I was living in LA, I was going to all the LA studios, getting my day rate, and then just partying all the time. Just partying. And it was great because, there's a lot of memories in that with the other motion designers in the scene, and we have lifelong memories, and we're all older now, and we love that era.
It's like sitting on the porch with their rocking chairs, just like reminiscing.
But it's like, but it's like, it was like kind of like the golden era of motion design, because it was just coming up. There was newness, and it was just kind of like a really interesting time. So there's not like huge regret, but I just kind of lost track of personal work and promoting my identity, and I just kind of lost. I felt like I just lost some years out of my career. I just felt like I lost like 4 years of progress marketing myself. I'm always going to be someone that is the most important brand to me is GMUNK. It's not a studio that I work for or this or that. It's actually, I've taken full-time jobs before. I've had a couple. I worked for Buck full-time for a year. I worked for Bot and Dolly for a year, Autofuss Bot and Dolly, and I worked for Obscura Digital for a year. And every single one I quit after a year, every single one, because
just because of identity.
It was like, yeah, it's like I can't, you know, it's nice to have that stability, but I'm not going anywhere with this. Yeah. You know, sure, my portfolio is getting a little bit bigger and I have nice watermarked videos and such, but it's like, it's not what inspires me is not that, you know, stability doesn't inspire me. Kind of doing it the hard way inspires me.
Instability inspires.
The struggle kind of inspires me. So there's a chapter in my career during kind of my prime years, like my most energetic years, that I kind of spent, you know, doing other things. But you know, that's one, and then just not, and then another one is just you know, when I came out of school, I was also a film major, and was filming all the time, and I just lost touch of that as well. Like I went into motion design and stopped shooting, you know, and thought that shoots had to be these really complicated things, but shoots don't have to be these complicated things. Shoots can be your iPhone. You can make a movie with your iPhone. You can make a movie with a fucking Handycam, and that's what I used to do, and I just stopped doing that. And you know, I overcomplicated it.
Sometimes you need to go back to your roots, don't you, in a way?
Yeah, exactly.
Like reevaluate.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are kind of the two big regrets, I think. You know, and it's just kind of one of those things that you just like, you know, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself to be somewhere. You know, like I don't need to, you know, I'm not awards driven or goal driven. I'm just kind of like, all I really care about is being happy and inspired, you know? But I do feel like I lost some time. That's all. But I have good memories.
Cool. Should we pick a last question? You can pick that.
Yeah, what's the last question? See, now I'm drinking my matcha here, so I'm a little bit more lively.
I've got a question afterwards, but where is this? This one here says, how do you manage to renew yourself permanently and to come up with new ideas? But I kind of feel like we've answered that previously anyway.
Yeah, I would say the answer is cross-pollination.
I was just thinking,
be the bee who kind of like pollinates different flowers, and then watch that pollen kind of
spread your seed. Spread
the seed.
I was just thinking, like your wife is like Simona is like a really good illustrator. Have you guys like ever collaborated, or do you ever like butt heads creatively? Because you know, like my wife's an illustrator as well, and sometimes we have a difference of opinion. Let's just say.
Yeah, I think we haven't really collaborated professionally, but we have something in the cards for next year. But it's kind of like it's not like I would let her do her thing, right? You know, but I always give her my honest opinion about everything, because, and even when it gets me in trouble and we get in a fight about it, I'll still do it because I owe her that.
Yeah.
It doesn't help her for me to just not tell her what I feel. You know what I mean? And
even
so
if it means just sleep on the couch for a while.
Yeah, exactly. But I have my tastes aren't necessarily the mainstream tastes either. Yeah. So she makes sure that she asks some of her school, you know, who she went to CSM with. You know, she has that crew too that she asks, and I'm always kind of the outlier. But I think you know, there's definitely a respect there, and I kind of push her to do she tries to sometimes do things that she thinks people expect her to do, rather than what she's really like her thing. You know, I push her to keep on doing her thing and be her, instead of doing things that other people want her to do.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important for all of us, you know, like it's you have to do your thing, and if you do your thing passionately and really well, good things will happen. You can't dilute your thing because you think other people want that.
I think it comes across in your work as well. If your heart's in it, you can see that, you can see it in the craft. as well.
Yeah.
And that again, like down the line, leads to hopefully leads to like new projects that will fund what you've done on your personal projects anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, there's an interesting question just popped up that says, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier when you were working at various companies, like, do you, Tristan asks, is it better to develop, to get your brand name, to develop an identity like GMUNK, Beeple, or what have you, or just use your own name?
I think that's up to the individual, you know.
Yeah, it's your identity. You have to figure out yourself in that one, I think.
I thought of GMUNK 20 years ago in college, as a graphic design exercise, you know, literally like intermediate graphic design class. We created a fictional business for ourselves. I was struggling with it, and I went to my instructor, Mark Isaacson, this really interesting, funny graphic designer, kind of a terrible graphic designer actually. Back in the day, it was all craft and pasting and, you know, cutting and just wild shit 20 years ago. And I was like, you know, I'm struggling, you know, I can't really think of a cool brand name. And he's like, all right, what's your favorite animal? And I was like, well, I'm obsessed with monkeys. I think monkeys are the coolest because they're, you know, there's this whole thing about monkeys, and that's another 30 minutes. And wrap this up too. But I love monkeys. And he's like, all right, well, why don't you do something with monkeys? And I was like, all right, well, what if my real last name starts with a G. And so I was like, okay, what about like GMUNK? And then he's like, all right, yeah, GMUNK. And then I was like, okay, but I don't like the spelling. So we'll do GMUNK with a U. And then I was like, okay, yeah, what about just GMUNK? You know, just GMUNK, that's different. And then that was it. You know, it was like, and then I was like, okay, now I'm going to create a fictional name. In addition to GMUNK, I'm going to call myself Bradley G. Munkowitz. That's not my real name.
I didn't even realize that.
And I've had that. I've done Bradley G. Munkowitz for 20 years as well. And so I'll buy gmunk.com. I'll do Bradley G. Munkowitz, you know, and it's just like, and it started 20 years ago. And then it's like, okay, I'm never going to change this.
Does it feel like it's...
Beeple's the same thing. He like designed his name based on this little toy, these little Beeples. And he did it fucking 15 years ago. You know, he's like, it's like you have to respect the impulse sometimes.
Does it feel like, now that it's been so long, does it feel like that is your real name in some respects?
Yeah, for sure. Like when people, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's like, well, I'll go to my 30th high school reunion. You know, that's not for a few years. I'm not that old, but you know, I missed my 10th and 20th high school reunions, but I'm going to go to my 30th, and you know, people are going to call me by my real last name and truncate my first name. I'll be like, whoa, it's gonna be fucking trippy, dude.
Who?
You know, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's I guess the answer to the question is you just find it, you know, find it, and don't rush it. You just like, I think people think they need all the answers now, right? People think they need all the answers today or tomorrow or next week or next month. It's like, just sit with things. Like, you don't have to have all the answers now. You don't have to have your brand worked out now. You know, your career is a long time.
Hopefully.
You know, a long time. You know, I've been doing this 20 years, and you have a long time to just find where that spark is, where that resonance is, and just like let it manifest. You know, let the right thing manifest, and just in the meantime, just work on your skills and work on your energy. And the energy is everything. The energy is, you got to identify what it is inside you that gets you excited, gets that adrenaline going. Find that kid in you, and manipulate it. Right? You need to manipulate it. And whatever it is, some people love posting on social media. Some people love fucking, you know, disappearing into the darkness, and some people, and doing this, and some people like fucking ceramics, and some people like painting. You know, just like find that thing and just try to manipulate it in such a way that you can make a living from it. Because like you said, that energy comes through.
It's kind of, don't you find it more difficult the older you get to have that energy? Like you say, like back in, I don't know, the prime was kind of like late 20s, early 30s for energy, I reckon. But I find it, like I don't know about you as well, Thiago, I'm sure you're the same. But it's like the older you get, the more difficult it is to have that time after work to work on personal projects, to find that motivation.
Especially for kids as well.
Yeah, of course.
I think the kids is kind of like it changes everything because
I think that changes what is your personal project. That turns into your personal project.
Definitely an ongoing project.
Personal project, which is the greatest personal project you can have. So, talk to me in like a year or two, and I'll be like,
"Yo, guys, I fucked
personal
up.
work. I just work on my kid. I could take my kid roller skating. But I think that the answer to your question, James, I think is a great question, is as you get older, you need to figure out how to work, right? Like how to work, meaning you don't have as much energy as you did when you were a kid.
Yeah, I guess you try and capitalize when you do feel it. But then I always feel like really energetic at like nighttime or something when I'm trying to get to sleep. Like, oh, I've had an idea. Oh, yeah, but it's like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Maybe if I switch time zones, it'll be all right. That's what I should do.
I think that for me, I just I know what I don't like to do, and so I just avoid it. I don't like to model. So then instead I learned, generative terrain generators that I can use instead of modeling. So way more fun. I could kill myself. I can't do anything in Photoshop anymore that, I can't paint shit out or do anything like that. I just don't like it. I don't use Illustrator anymore. I stopped using Illustrator after Oblivion.
Is anyone
Oblivion,
like
I like
Illustrator?
the shit out of Illustrator, and then I was like, you know what? I don't like doing this anymore. I'll hire someone 10 years younger than me who fucking rip it up, and so I do. So it's like you find where you want to put your energy. Photography for me is great because it's being outdoors on hikes with other people, on adventures, camping. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic way to just get out and be creative without really needing anything.
Yeah, maybe that's just what it is, like just getting out there and the stuff that's already around you rather than necessarily creating from scratch. Maybe there's too much pressure on yourself in a way.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about the purity of just the purity of kind of creation, and that leads to happiness. There's a whole, that's our next topic. I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker or anything. Like it's not what I want. That's not my intention. I'm just kind of trying to break it down. Everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own thing. Everyone has their
it's
own
about
path.
to find that, no?
Yeah, it's like what works for somebody is not going to work for someone else. It's like everyone's got their own thing. So,
what was your website name, Thiago? I can't remember before Cookie.
Eat Cake.
No, I mean as a freelancer.
A freelance, Thiago.
I thought you had I thought it was like Gorilla something.
No, it was Thiago.
Right.
It's still there. I still have that. I didn't have.
That's your real name, though, right? It's definitely your real name.
We don't know.
For now.
That's what I came with 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. Man, 2 hours, guys. This has been good.
Yeah, it's been really a pleasure, man, to have you. Special. It's our last guest of the year. So
2020.
2020 is
finishing on a high.
Almost there.
Nice.
Let's just hope a better 2021.
Yeah.
2 more weeks left. We can do it, guys. We can do it.
I'm doing absolutely nothing for New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We're kind of in lockdown here.
I think we're going to have Chinese hot pot and chill at home. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
But man, just want to say really big thank you for you, especially to share with everyone, your knowledge. And
wait, how much cheese did you eat, by the way?
I didn't eat the cheese, man.
What the?
I was paying too much attention. I had the cheese.
You have to finish it all now.
We're gonna have a break.
Come back in February.
We're gonna come back first show in the first week of February. So we're just gonna have a break. We have a few things to finish on the Sinoevo side as well. But it's been really good to have you, man. Again, we had you on the physical show. I hope in the future
We'll do it.
We'll do it again, man. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll do it again.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you everyone as well, to keep up with us.
Thanks for joining, and stay safe as well. Look after yourself and your family.
Have a great Christmas, New Year. Yeah. And we all get back together in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I'm getting a new Dyson for Christmas. I'm very excited about this.
Oh, what the hell?
V10.
We need a separate we need a separate stream on that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't wait.
Yeah,
30 minutes of battery life.
I've got one here.
To transform my life.
Well, if that's what motivates you, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome.